pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, the rest of the story. Investigating the life of a frontiersman like Davy Crockett requires the tedious extraction of facts from folklore. You are about to hear a Davy Crockett story that Walt Disney never told. What I am going to tell you is completely true. Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, the song goes, as far as anybody knows, Davy Crockett never set foot in Tennessee until he was a grown man. North Carolina was his stomping ground, Piedmont, thereabouts. There are records, original documents relating to Davy Crockett and two of his older sons are still in the files of the old Lincolnton courthouse. But then the call of the wild frontier beckoned. And Davy took his family up the eastern slopes of the Appalachians, down into the promised land on the other side. Now, in those days, you could strike out and claim 400 acres of land just like that. Build a cabin, the estate was yours. Improve the property a little, and a settler could automatically claim an additional 1,000 acres of land adjacent to the original 400. Well, that deal was too good for many to pass up. Legislation established real estate offices throughout the territory. The Indians were bound to peace by a recently signed treaty. So, Davy Crockett felt secure in his new homestead on the frontier. And he would probably have remained there, happily ever after, except for the rest of the story. All at once, the local legislature pulled the rug out from under the settlers. Now suddenly whites were forbidden to own or to survey or even to enter the land within the so-called Indian boundary. Yet speculators had already applied for more than 1 million acres inside the restricted zone. And Davy Crockett and his family already lived inside the restricted zone. The Indians, Creeks, and Cherokees, feeling cheated by the fine print in the treaty they had signed, now learning that countless white men had overtaken the Indians' rightful territory by 1,000-plus acre chunks, were furious. And there was much talk of violence in the red communities, and quickly the talk grew into action, and among those threatened were a dozen settlers near what is now Rogersville, Tennessee, and among those 12 was Davy Crockett. And one night when Davy's son John was away from the homestead, the Indians did attack. Davy and his wife tried to fight them off. She was killed in the raid, and so was he. That's right, Davy Crockett died in an Indian massacre in the spring of 1777. Now, for Davy's son John, who was not at home that night, he lived to tell and to father a son of his own, whom he named after his beloved father, the first of the Crocketts to venture into Tennessee. Our researchers have confirmed irrefutably that it was another Davy Crockett whom you know. I said it was another Davy Crockett whom you have lionized and who died at the Alamo. That was the grandson namesake of the frontiersman that you've just met. Davy's daddy, the Irish settler who in fact scaled the Appalachians, he left it for posterity to write the rest of the story. Now, the rest of the story. As a general, Ulysses S. Grant was spared a Waterloo, and yet as president, he almost met his Watergate. This is the rest of the story. The Grant administration was widely believed, especially in Democratic circles, to have been a corrupt one. By the spring of 1876, Get Grant fever had spilled from the Hill into the heartland, but congressional investigators needed something substantial with which to nail the president. They would begin with grand-scale graft in the War Department. They would get to Grant through his suspect Secretary of War, William Belknap. Under Belknap, soldiers at Army posts could no longer purchase non-military supplies from whomever they wished. Beginning June 1870, they could only make such purchases from merchants chosen and licensed by the War Department. Furthermore, rumor had it that these Army Post merchants, called sutlers, were paying up to 4/5 of their annual income to War Department officials. Some said to Secretary Belknap himself. It would take more than hearsay to expose Belknap, however. And one man came forward, a soldier named George from Fort Abraham Lincoln in the Dakota Territory. He testified before a number of congressional committees, and yes, he had met the Secretary of War when he visited Fort Lincoln. Yes, he believed Belknap was a crook. And then he, George, produced certain documents to support his contention. He even linked Orville Grant, the president's own brother, to Belknap's alleged indiscretions. Before the congressional investigation was over, William Belknap resigned as Secretary of War, and the administration was toppling, the critics said. But President Grant weathered his Watergate. At least he was destined to complete his second term, no thanks to George. Grant would never forget that. In fact, the president grew determined to punish George for trying to ruin him politically. And it's easy for a commander-in-chief to punish a soldier. One day, the choice assignments the soldier had expected are no longer there. George tried desperately to get back in President Grant's good graces. He even visited the White House personally and sat waiting for hours before being told that the president did not want to see him. Well, George realized he'd have to do something spectacular in order to redeem himself. So he set out to do something spectacular. And he failed. And yet, he failed so spectacularly that each generation since has remembered him for it. For George was General George Armstrong Custer. He was President Grant's John Dean. But Grant survived his political scandal, and Custer, attempting to regain the favor of the man he had sought to disgrace, Custer, planning a daring, reckless raid against the Sioux and the Cheyenne, rode to his own death at Little Bighorn. All of your life you've heard of Custer's last stand. Now you know the rest of the story.
You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the fuck are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a damn if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna fucking do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're dreaming.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Are you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Are you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Fight back. You ain't gonna make it, you ain't never ever gonna break it. You can never beat them and they're better than you face it. Thinking that they give a damn, you're not thinking straight, kid. No, they don't give a damn, you got what I'm saying? I'm not fucking playing, I'll give it to you straight, man. There's too many others and you're not that great, man. Stop what you're saying, stop what you're making. Everybody here knows that you just faking. Nah, I don't wanna hear it anymore, I don't wanna hear it anymore. All these fucking thoughts, they are not what I need anymore. I'm about to shut the motherfucking door on all you poor ass haters with your heads in the clouds, talking out loud so proud. You better shut your goddamn mouth before I do more speak out. It's about to head south. Never gonna make it. There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it,
but you're never gonna make it. Aren't you just gonna take that? Make them take it all back. Don't tell me you believe that. Aren't you just gonna take that? Or will you fucking fight back? Or will you fucking fight back?